art can mean different things to different people. For me, it's all about the joy of creating. So if you draw, paint, write, dance, sing, craft, play air guitar, or even sculpt using nothing but mashed potatoes, consider yourself an artist and join the conversation. For the next half hour, meet the artist, learn about their inspiration, and enjoy the beauty of creativity. Welcome to Art Talk with John Cole Artist. Good evening, everyone. Good evening and happy Tuesday. Today is May 30th, 2023. Tonight, I get to speak with one of my best friends and the first person that agreed to speak with me on the Art Talk podcast, Carri Betts. How are you, Carri?
I'm pretty good. How are you doing tonight, John?
I'm doing very well. I was telling you earlier, it's just, I haven't spoken with you in quite some time. So it's really, really great to not only see you, but then speak with you again to find out what's been going on and talk a little bit about art and some of the things you've been doing and get your opinion on a few things. What do you think?
Let's do it.
All right. Well, we got Christine on. She says, hey, 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 beautiful souls.
Hey, my gorgeous girlfriend.
We've got Beth. Hey there,
Hi,
amazing
Beth.
soul. Beth, thank you for joining. Beth was on with me, 3 weeks ago? 3 weeks ago. Yeah, she did a great job too. She's a natural speaker, just like you. Kim Nishida, great to see you both. And there's Lucinda. Thank you, Lucinda. And thank you, Kim, Beth, and Christine for joining us tonight. So I got to ask, Carri, what have you been up to? Are you still doing the resin work? I'm assuming.
I am still doing the resin work.
Mm-hmm.
Rebranding myself, as you've seen,
Mm-hmm.
and working on a few new little things. I started working on dog tags. Out of the resin, like I think that I mentioned that in our last podcast.
You did, yep.
And then the wire wrapping of the stones around the mirror that I had sent you a picture of. That's been another new thing. And other than that, a lot of soul searching, because that's what I do on a daily basis. Those of you who know me know that I'm always looking within and looking around in the universe, looking for all of the signs and synchronicities.
Right. I think you bring that into your art as well. I think, you did mention the mirror with the gemstones. Unfortunately, I don't have the picture. It's on my phone. I wasn't able to transfer it over, but just to give the audience an idea of what it looks like, it's basically a mirror in the center. And then you have wire work around the outside.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have different gems and stones placed in all those positions. So do those stones represent something, or are they?
Yes, every stone has different healing properties in them. There are stones on there for grounding, to bring abundance, to help calm and ease your emotions. That mirror has quite a bit of power in it.
Yeah. I want to see if I can bring that over while we're talking, because I really think the picture itself is really beautiful. And I think that the work you're doing with that, because it looks like you're tapping into your pyramid work as well, because you use a lot of stones and gems in that, and crystals, right?
Yes.
And each of those things, you use your intuitive capabilities, I guess, to connect with what the person needs or who they are, or is it a combination?
So I do my pyramids to, I'm always tapped into my intuition when I'm building these pyramids.
Right.
When it is a custom order, some people are like, just use your intuition, tap into my energy, and see what it is that I need for healing. Because as you know, John, most of us don't even know half the time what we need for healing, right?
Yes, exactly. Yep.
And some people will give me a word that they are working on, like maybe they want to attract more abundance, or so I will base the pyramid around that while using my intuition. So not only will I build the pyramid for the word that they give me, but whatever else I get will go into it.
Okay. Yeah, I think I love that idea also of people trusting enough to have you basically tune into them. I mean, I don't know if that's the right word for it, right? Same vibration maybe, and then you can use then your talents to choose the right things. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's such an honor to have people trust me with that.
And there's the picture.
Of course, he
Somehow I
got
got
it.
it from point A to point B super fast. Yeah, I just think this is phenomenal. I think that the design, the layout itself is just beautiful. The stones you selected also are gorgeous. Like I'm particularly drawn to the blue one at the bottom, just because blue's one of my favorite colors. Plus, it matches my eyes. It matches my beautiful eyes. And
You do
Christine
have
writes,
beautiful eyes.
"Oh, thanks." She wrote, "Absolutely stunning. I love it," and I love it too. I think it's fantastic. So hopefully you'll make more of those because I think that's something that people would really enjoy.
I think so too. And
Yeah.
that's that one takes some time just
Mhm.
because can get a little frustrating. So sometimes you have to put it aside and go back to it, right?
Yeah, and it looks like you might already have a client early. The mirror is so
Looks,
magically beautiful. Kim writes, "I want one."
you got it, Kim.
hmm And then Beth writes, "The energy in Carrie's healing is off the charts. I use them in my own healing practice to amplify the healing and wow on that mirror." Yeah, I think it's stunningly beautiful.
Thank you, Beth.
And she's referring to the energy in the pyramids. There we go. Now, speaking of pyramids, you gave me an interesting number not that long ago about how many pyramids you've made.
So yeah, I just got curious a little while ago while throughout this rebranding process. Um, and it looks like I have made, I'm not going to say sold because I have a tendency to give my work away to people who I feel may need them.
Mm-hmm.
But I have made 260 in the past 2 years that I've been doing this. And I have shipped them out to 23 states.
Wow.
And some people I shipped multiple because they were giving to gifts. So they could be in more states than I actually realize.
Wow. Congratulations on that. That is amazing.
Thank you. I love that my healing is in that many states. And I always love when people get their pyramids. It brings me so much joy. And not just my pyramids, any of my products.
Yeah, that's interesting that you said 260. Is that what you said, give or take? 260 over 2 years. So that's like 130 a year, 365. So you're doing it's almost like one every 3 days if you want to do really quick back of the napkin math. That's a lot. And to have them in so many different states, that's amazing as well. So it's kind of like this with this podcast. I think, as I think about, having different guests on like yourself or Christine or Beth or somebody like that, I'm thinking to myself, well, wouldn't it be interesting if I could get a guest from every state?
And you can do it.
Yeah, because art is universal. I mean, there are artists everywhere. There's probably more artists than there are anything else if you really think about it. That whole creative thing. And then Christine writes, "Your healing creates a ripple effect and has touched more people than you know." Christine, I absolutely agree with you. Absolutely. Carrie, that's who you are, and that's who you will always be. And we love that about you. So never change.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I plan on being this version of myself for quite a while.
Perfect. Hey, Jerry. Jerry's on. She says, hi, John and Carrie.
Hey, Jerry.
So I wanted to, and this is something, again, we touched briefly on before the show went live, and it's something I've been wanting to talk to somebody about for quite a while. My original concept was to get a bunch of people on and then kind of talk about this subject for a little bit. However, the more I thought about it, the more I'm thinking, well, that would get complicated super fast. So I think maybe, if you wouldn't mind, we could talk a little bit about this, because you are a business, but you're a sole proprietorship, right? So it's not like you have 10, 15 employees making product and then you slap your name on there and out the door it goes. Each one is handmade. Each one's made with love. Each one takes time. And then, of course, when you have your product, and here's my product right here. So here's my product, right? So you made this for me. You make this for somebody else, and you're like, well, I'm going to charge X amount for this, right? So then the question becomes, for artists, I think for a lot of our younger artists, hey, Megan, hey, two of my favorite people.
Hi, Megan.
The question then becomes is, how do you, and we don't have to talk about the pyramid specifically, but I think it's more of an existential question, right? How do us as artists price our material so that it sells? Or
it's quite the challenge, isn't
right,
it?
Right.
To figure it out.
It's an incredibly interesting subject to talk about. Yeah.
And it's taken me, it's taken me this whole time of making products to realize the value behind them, along with what my cost is to make them. So,
right.
For instance, like this size pyramid, this big one here, has 43 ounces of resin, which equates to $43, because it's $1 an ounce for the resin that I use.
Right.
And then I have to account for what crystals are in there. The flowers, I don't really account for too much, that the flowers are low cost. But then it's my time.
Right.
And my energy.
Right.
Because there's a lot of fairy dust that goes into all my products, right?
And fairy dust is uniquely yours. So yeah, exactly.
It is.
Yep.
So I think the charging thing is it really goes back to knowing your value.
I love that.
I feel like that's been my biggest struggle on this journey. And now it feels really good to know my value.
Yeah. I still struggle with that in that area. I think because if we take out personal self-worth out of the equation for a second and just look at it from a logistical perspective, there's two problems that I see that I've experienced. The first is that from a straight up cost perspective, when you're making a pyramid, for example, just materials in and of themselves are far greater than if I were to do, let's say, one of my dot pet portraits. All right. Because if you look at a pet portrait, and what I'm referring to, folks, is I do these 6 by 6 inch ceramic tiles. And then I would take a picture of your pet and basically reproduce that using a pointillistic type technique. Basically a dot painting is what it turns out to be. So the cost ratio there for a tile is perhaps 50 cents. And then of course, it's not using a lot of paint. However, when you look at the time factor, that's what gets you, because any one of those pet portraits might take up to, maybe 5 days and maybe an hour, hour and a half a day. So you're probably looking at about 10 to 15 hours per portrait. So from a personal value perspective, right, I think they turn out good. The people I do them for seem to enjoy them. So what is that? And what does that equate to from a monetary perspective, right? And then it becomes, I think, a real challenge. It becomes a mental challenge at that point.
It really does.
Because if you're only paying for supplies, that's one thing. But then what is my time worth?
Mm-hmm. I do know. And I feel that way with the mirrors that are a new thing. I'm trying to figure out how I will charge for that.
Right.
Because the cost is relatively low. It's just my time.
Right.
Which I should not say just my time, because our time is super valuable, right?
It is. But some would argue, and this is the other side, is some would argue that, well, I'm going to a 9-to-5 job. I'm a CEO. I'm getting paid $75 an hour. I don't know, is that what CEOs get paid? I don't even know. They're getting paid a huge amount per hour. And then and I'll be honest, when we do that and we put in that same level of effort, because what we do is unique, right? Nobody else is making those pyramids, but you, Carri. You try to charge that amount. Let's say it takes you 10 hours and you're charging $100. You're going to sell it for $1,000. The question then becomes, are people going to buy it? Right. And that's what I keep running into, is that problem there, because I think from an artistic perspective, I don't know of very many artists, if any, that charge per hour.
Yeah, I don't know if any of us do, right?
Yeah, I don't know, right? We do tend to charge by pieces. And also, folks, if you're watching on Facebook, I just got an error popped up saying that it might not be broadcasting. So if that's the case, I apologize. I should be broadcasting well on YouTube. But yeah, we end up charging by piece, right? And then I think the other part of that question is, what if I'm just starting out versus what if I've been doing this for 10 or 15 years, right?
Mm-hmm. When I first started making these, those big ones, these ones here, I was selling for $75.
75.
And I wasn't even charging shipping.
Wow. And you weren't even charging for shipping.
I totally went in the hole.
Yeah.
I had to get into my reserve fund for sure.
Right. Yeah, you would. Yeah.
And now these go for $225. The big ones go for $225.
And people are buying them.
Yes.
Yeah. But that does take you a while. And of course, and I think the other, and then of course, the other thing I didn't mention, and this is something that is really interesting to me, is sites like Etsy is a great example, right? So I do a pet portrait and I charge $65 for my pet portraits. But somebody could hop onto Etsy and find an even, and when I say better, I don't mean that as in terms of effort or quality, or because we're almost comparing apples and oranges, right? Because I do dot paintings, but somebody like I might be able to find somebody that does pet portraits in watercolor for like $5. So how do I compete with that, right? I don't know, right? So what really is the right answer there? Is it looking for specific audiences, do you think? Is it?
I do think it's that like you have to target a certain audience. Like I have my Etsy store. I've had my Etsy store for about a year now, maybe a little longer. And I'm still trying to figure out how to get the views up, like just through Etsy search, right? Because there's a lot of people doing resin.
Oh, there's a lot of people doing everything. That's the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So I think that it's about targeting that audience and making that product that you're providing as unique as you can.
Right. I agree. Absolutely. Yeah. And then, of course, there's an advertising piece in there as well. Right. So finding that perfect audience, right? Which is interesting because I ran into this really weird thing where I wanted to basically highlight this podcast. And I'm not selling anything on the podcast. All I'm doing is I'm bringing on folks like yourself, and then we're having a conversation. And I posted it. It was for a Facebook group or something like that that focused on local art here. Because I mean, I'm based in Drake, Massachusetts, and I'm like, well, maybe there's other people in Drake that are interested, right? They wouldn't push it forward because they said it was selling. So I tried a different site and they wouldn't do it either. So it's really interesting that the communities that I'm looking to introduce this program, which again isn't selling anything, there's still a lot of resistance to it. So I find that interesting as well. And I think it says something about, and I don't want to get into politics or anything like that, but it does say something about our attitudes right now in terms of free speech, because I think on the one hand, we can say whatever we want, but on the other hand, we've got this other subset of people that are being very limiting on what they will accept. So somewhere in there's probably the balance. But I absolutely know it can be challenging.
Sure.
Kim writes, portray the story of the value of the transformation, healing, and experience for the client through your pieces. And that's, and honestly, Kim and Carri, that's really how I feel about Carri's work. I think it's how I feel about the work that I do. Although I'm not selling anything right now, right? Product wise, but when I do art, I do tend to look at it from a matter of fact, I think it's in my mission statement. When I first thought about doing this, my mission statement was something like, you know, my goal is to bring joy into other people's lives or something like that. You know, so it really wasn't about the money. It was about me doing it and then people receiving it and going, hey, this is something that I appreciate. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what's next then for you?
Right at this moment, we're trying to just be moment to moment right now, and enjoy what has been happening. I know that I need to ramp up my marketing a little bit. So that's probably what I'll be working on coming up, like more marketing content.
Okay. Speaking of marketing, let's take a look. Would you mind if I brought your website up real quick, your Etsy site?
You can go right ahead and do that.
All right.
I would love that.
Stop that screen and let me share this here. There we go. So this wasn't always called the Mystic Weaver.
No, it was not. It used to be called Fairy Treasure by Carri. But I have recently decided to change all, my business name before was Paws and Petals. And it just hasn't been feeling right for a while. I just feel I've outgrown that. And I decided on the Mystic Weaver. It's just something that Spirit gave to me. But if you know me, you know that's what I do. I am always going within. I help people go within to look at themselves and to weave together all of the signs and synchronicities that the universe is providing so that you can have a deeper relationship with yourself, right?
Right.
Which in turn gives you a deeper relationship with everyone else around you.
I love that. Yeah, that's exactly what you do. You know, that's exactly what you do. I think that the oh, hey, Linda's up. Where's Linda at? Where's she at? There she is. Hello.
Hello, Linda.
Hey, Linda. And Christy says, love you guys.
I love you too, girl.
Boy, we got a great group of folks watching tonight, and I really appreciate it. This is amazing. This is amazing. Plus, it's Carri Betts. I mean, who would not tune into Carri Betts? Let's be honest.
Right.
So you got some great products up here. I've seen your trays. Your trays are beautiful. You talked about the pyramids, and folks, I'm not selling on behalf of Carri, but having my own pyramid, the values there. I mean, not only from a product perspective, but just the love that's put into this. I mean, they're absolutely stunning. So if you don't have one, you should at least check them out. Now, the dog tags that you mentioned, are you at a point yet where they're being produced for sale, or are you still looking at that?
They will be. I am still working on them a little bit, but I am reminding myself that I am imperfectly perfect, and so are my products. Right. So because the dog tags, that's what it's been coming down to. I'm like, that's not good enough. That one's not good enough. They're perfect, just the way they are.
And folks, we're talking about animal dog tags, not human dog tags, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. I'll make sure, because all of a sudden it popped into my head. I'm like, dog tags? Is that military? Wait, that's not right. But your site looks fantastic. I love what you're doing here, and it looks like people are buying stuff, so that's amazing. So congratulations on that as well.
Thank you. And right now, everything is 20% off this week. Little full moon madness sale going on.
Nice. Love it.
Full moon coming up.
Mm-hmm. So awesome. So let's see what else we got. Like I said, it's really been a pleasure talking with you tonight. That's number one. Number two, I think that you continue to impress me with not only the things that you're making from an art perspective, but just your overall outlook is fantastic. We really do need more people like you in this world.
Thank you, John.
So I just hope you keep creating things, that you keep the faith, that, you just keep taking that amazing talent that you have, because it really does bring value to people. And folks, that's what art's all about, right? Like we were talking earlier with how you price products and some of the issues with that. I think when you're a true artist, it's really not about the money. It's not. Right? It's about that joy of creating. It's about that joy of seeing the look on other people's faces, or even just a nice thank you email or IM or something. They still call it IM? I don't know.
There's been so many of my products that I have just given to someone because, I may walk by one of the pyramids that's sitting here right now, and I could hear somebody's name.
Yeah.
And guess what? That means I'm going to mail it to them.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's
wonderful. How things work here.
And it's how we make people better, by giving sometimes from the heart, even if it's a sacrifice. And I know everybody that chimed in tonight, that sent an IM, they all think the same thing. They all do a lot of wonderful things from the heart. And again, that's what makes the art community wonderful. It's what makes your intuitive community helpful. It's really what makes us all better people. So again, thank you for that, Carri. I appreciate that.
Well, thank you for being you, John.
Well, thank you. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and say goodnight, because it's been 30 minutes already. Time flew by like crazy. Again, on Facebook, really weird. I got a warning message, so I'm not sure whether or not we were still broadcasting. But if not, what I'll do is I'll take the YouTube video and put that up to make sure people have the opportunity to see this conversation. And your website, Carri, how would people take a look at that?
www.carribetts.com.
There you are. And then for folks, if you want to check out our Etsy page, it's at etsy.com/shop/themysticweaver.
That's me.
All right, Carri, well, you have a great night, and I will talk to you soon.
Thank you so much for having me, John.
You're very welcome. We'll get together again.
Okay, sounds good.
Awesome.
Bye.
Bye. Art can mean different things to different people. For me, it's all about the joy of creating. So if you draw, paint, write, dance, sing, craft, play air guitar, or even sculpt using nothing but mashed potatoes, consider yourself an artist and join the conversation. For the next half hour, meet the artist, learn about their inspiration, and enjoy the beauty of creativity